this young man that grew up outside of Philadelphia, went up to school in Boston, and now will be headed to learn how to speak with a slight southern drawl.
I think, Boo, for Arthur Blank, turn the page. It's a new era now of Atlanta Falcon football with Matt Ryan at the helm. You're talking about a kid who carried a football team that did not have great receivers, a great offensive line, or great running backs. Matt Ryan, you talk about his size, 6'4 3/4, about 220.
With the 6th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Julio Jones, wide receiver, Alabama.
So Julio Jones coming to the stage. This breaks the hearts of some Rams fans that hope that he possibly could drop to them down all the way to 14. It also leaves Blaine Gabbert up for grabs for the 49ers, who are now on the clock, as we all create some headspace for those developments. Tell me about Julio Jones, Mike.
Andy White, Tony Gonzalez, Matt Ryan is ecstatic right now. What a trade they pulled off.
Michael Turner, Julio Jones, Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez, Matt Ryan. That's not a bad nucleus to move forward. We're going to take a break. When we come back.
With the first pick of the 5th round, number 137 overall, the Atlanta Falcons select Grady Jarrett, the defensive tackle from Clemson. Rise up, rise up! Woo!
All right, there you have it, Grady Jarrett, as we discussed before, big favorite of Dabo Swinney, and he would argue, too, that guy causes the kind of confusion up front that allows some of the other playmakers on that defense to make hay.
Grady Jarrett needs to play in a penetrating scheme, but when he does it, he is dynamic. He is short, but plays with great leverage, plays with great balance, and look at him chase from that nose position. He will not give a center a break at all. Now,
What's good? How y'all doing this evening? Welcome back to Draft Prospects here on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. It's your boy, The Don. Back here with my two co-hosts, King and Tyrone. What's good with y'all, man?
What's good? What's good, man?
Not much, man. I know right now, hey, it's been an up and down day in Atlanta sports. We, Falcons signed 2 players. We got rid of Ito Smith, and we drafted Ari McDonald out of Arizona for the Atlanta Dream. So, hey, and the Braves. Damn, my boy Dansby.
Your MVP.
Walked it off.
MVP Dansby.
MVP Dansby. Yes. And right now, the Hawks playing and they ain't looking good right now. But, hey, we playing against the Bucks. It was just a good team. We hanging in there. So, hey, appreciate everybody who's watching live. What you say, King?
We would be winning if Trae Young would make layups.
And look, man, when you out a few games, man, that's what happens, man. You get a little rusty. So, hey, appreciate everybody watching live. We here with special guest Jamie. He covers TCU. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and let everybody know who he writes and do content at.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it. My name is Jamie Plunkett. I'm one of the 2 managing editors for Frogs of War, which is SB Nation's TCU website. So we cover all TCU athletics. I've been the managing editor there since 2012. You can follow me on Twitter at Frog Preacher and at Frogs of War. Excited to be on with you guys.
Hey man, we appreciate you coming on with us to talk about Trevon Moehrig, man. We really excited. This is one kid I've been looking at for a good minute, so appreciate you.
Absolutely. Trey is a baller. There's no other way to put it. The dude is an absolute monster. absolute monster.
So, hey, if you're new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out, Atlanta Sports Fanatics, and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. All right. Before we start talking, get into the show, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, Amazon Music. So sign up. Go ahead, King. You good?
Sign up for Amazon Music at getamazonmusic.com/FILA Sports Podcast. Free for the first month, $9.99. After that, they got all the music you would like to listen to. They even got Young Dro. I know that's a Don's favorite. Jamie, who you like to listen to?
Look, I'm a country music fan. I'm a good Texas boy in that way. But I do love pop music as well. I'm kind of like a generic, basic white guy when it comes to music, to be completely honest with you. So if you accept me for that, I'd be appreciative of that.
Of course,
you cool, man.
Who's your favorite country artist?
What's that?
Who's your favorite country artist?
I like this really kind of old school bluegrass band called The Band. It's a band that my dad kind of raised me on. And just kind of the piano with the banjo music and the soft guitar, it really it gets straight to my heart every time. So if we got any other The Band fans watching, shout out to The Band.
I'm pretty sure they got The Band on Amazon Music. So if you're the band fan, go ahead and go to Amazon Music. Your first month is free on us, and then after that, it's $9.99 a month.
Yes, that is true. I like country music too. I'm a Sam Hunt kind of guy.
Oh, for sure.
Or Chris Lane, Laps Around the Sun. That's one of my favorite country music albums. So I'm not just a J. Cole guy. I'm pretty well diverse, as y'all see. But as you know, I do have to say, go listen to J. Cole on Apple Music. It's free for the first month, $9.99 after that.
And also they got Lupe Fiasco on there as well. So
they got Young Thug is on there, for the younger guy. Young Thug's new Slime Language 2 will be on Amazon Music. Just wait for it, This Friday.
All right. So go ahead and subscribe to that, you guys. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. What's good, Ghost Peppers, man? Hey, appreciate that comment that you made on AFN the other day about the fourth quarterback that's been drafted every year in the past 20 years. You gave a name of those lists, and that list did not look good. So I just want to give you a shout out on that, man. Appreciate you. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show. Strengths and weaknesses of Trevon Moehrig.
All right, strengths. He is a tough, instinctive safety. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my player comp. I think this guy's like a Keanu Neal for you Falcons fans that know. I think he's like a Keanu Neal, great tackler, displays good awareness and coverage, but he's not the best when it comes to long speed. So he could possibly get beat by the faster tight ends, or putting him on a running back wouldn't be a good idea. He also is good at making plays on the ball. So that's always good. That's something Keanu Neal really didn't like. He wasn't really good at was making plays on the ball, but he's a much better guy at making plays on the ball. He stays with receivers well. And a lot of the tape I've got is he's very hard working. Like all he wants to do is really play football. So that's pretty much it, Don.
All right. What's Jamie, explain, how does his strengths make him one of the top safeties in this draft, just by, what you've seen, covering him for the past couple of years down there in Fort Worth?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, Trey comes out of a defense that is always just really highly regarded because of the head coach, Gary Patterson. Gary Patterson and TCU are known for having some of the best defenses in the country every single year. And it's a really complicated defense because it's a 4-2-5, and the safeties and the corners have a ton of responsibility on the back end. And Trey is a kid who came in as a true freshman and immediately earned starting time, which is not something that you normally see. So right out of the gate, Patterson identified him as a guy who really has a high football IQ. He understands his roles and responsibilities, and he understands where everyone else needs to be. So by the end of his time at TCU, he was kind of like the field general. He was helping get everybody else in position. He was the commander on the field. As far as his strengths go, he is incredibly instinctive. He has incredible ball skills, and he can do everything that you need a safety to do as far as stay with fast receivers, come up and help in run support, and really kind of be that guy who oversees everything else and makes sure that guys are doing their 1/11th that they need to do to get everything done on defense. I will say, too, about his 40-yard dash that you guys have listed, that 4.5 unofficial from his pro day, he was dealing with back tightness that day, and so his actual 4.5 is probably closer to a 4.4 flat than a 4.5, or his 40 time is actually closer to a 4.4. He's got incredible speed. He's brilliant. He knows exactly where everyone else is supposed to be, and he's a tank, dude. He will hit you, and he will hit you hard.
I was gonna talk about that. Him on being a run defender. Speak on that and how impressive he is as a run defender.
You know, so in TCU's defense, they run 3 safeties as part of the 4-2-5, and so one of his responsibilities at times is to be able to identify where he needs to be in run defense, and he gets downhill incredibly fast. Rarely do you see him make a mistake when it comes to run coverage, and so he can get up to the line from his safety position really quickly, fill in gaps where he needs to. But really, truly, he and TCU linebacker Garrett Walla, who's also coming out in this draft and hopefully will get drafted as well, they were very good at figuring out which gap they needed to fill and who was going to come down and make a big hit on a running back or a receiver out of the backfield.
All right, and go ahead and cover the weaknesses real quick.
You know, for Trey, I think some of the stuff that he struggles with, I see on there, like he does overcommit occasionally. There's one play that really stands out to me from this past year. It was against Oklahoma State where he got caught on a double move and got beaten by a receiver downfield a little bit. His speed allowed him to catch up and track that receiver down and make a tackle. And he responded to that mistake by, first of all, not allowing another reception all game and having an interception in the end zone that really kind of shut down Oklahoma State's final attempt at winning the game. So even when he does make mistakes, he typically responds really intelligently and makes up for it later on in the game.
All right. So pretty much, like, I like the strengths and I like what I saw on film. It does remind me of a Keanu Neal, which we just got rid of. He's in Dallas right now, so I don't know if you're a Cowboys fan or not. So.
I am. I'm very excited about Dan Quinn and Keanu Neal.
Whoa.
Whoa. Did you guys look? You guys realize who our past defensive coordinator was, right? You realize who we got rid of to hire Dan Quinn? Like, Dan Quinn is actually legitimately an upgrade, which is wild.
Wow. Well,
Man.
Who was that?
Look, let me tell you. Hold on, pause. Look, let me tell you, I've been a Falcons fan. We had Mike Nolan and we had Dan Quinn. Both of them are trash.
All right, that's fair.
But go ahead and explain. Like, I don't want to take rain on your parade because I know sometimes a new fresh coat of paint can look good.
Absolutely. And I think there are guys too who just aren't good head coaches who make really good coordinators. You know, I think Wade Phillips is one of those guys. And the Cowboys had him as a defensive coordinator and had him as a head coach. He was excellent when he was a coordinator. He was absolutely terrible when he was the head coach. You see that down in Houston. He goes down to Houston, their defense shapes up. He goes out to San Diego, their defense shapes up. And I think maybe for Quinn, there's an opportunity to kind of get back to his roots a little bit and just focus on what he knows. He doesn't have to worry about game management. He doesn't have to worry about the offensive side of the ball. He's just got to take care of the defense. And, you know, we'll see if he can get back and do that again. He was great. He was great in Seattle.
What if I told you, I don't know if anybody told you this, what if I told you he's not the mastermind behind the Legion of Boom up there in Seattle?
Well, then that would be really disappointing.
Because if you look at Pete Carroll's a defensive-minded coach. If you go and look back at Pete Carroll when he was the head coach at USC, everybody remember Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, Reggie Bush, Mark Sanchez, Matt Barkley, those guys. But that defense, that USC defense, was always ranked top 5 when Pete Carroll was coaching.
I'll be honest, though, like the one game that I saw of that was Vince Young absolutely shredding them for a national championship. So,
yeah.
But you know, and two part of it is just the players that you've got. I mean, the Legion of Boom was so good because they were absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
The players on the field ultimately make 4 Hall of Famers. That makes all the difference in the world. Anybody could coach that team.
Exactly.
So.
And this is why I said, you know, like I hope Quinn do well. I just had somebody on the show the other day that's a Rams reporter, and he's happy about Raheem Morris being defense coordinator in Los Angeles. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can go out there and coach the Rams defense and be average, at least at worst. Because, you know, at the same time, like Morris, his philosophy is very similar to Quinn's, and like it just didn't work out here in Atlanta. So I hope, you know, he can turn it around in Dallas. But, you know, just by what I've examined, like, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. But Keanu Neal's there in Dallas, and we need a replacement. Yeah, we just signed 2 safeties that are on 1-year deals. I get that. But at the same time, we need to harvest talent for the future. And I think Moehrig, he's going to be a guy that any team can pick up that's going to be starting week 1. And, you know, if he develops well, he could be a good player in the league.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this guy has all pro potential, in my opinion. I know I'm biased because I'm a huge TCU fan. I've been watching this kid since he was a freshman. But one of the things that coaches consistently say about TCU players, especially players on defense when they come out for the draft, is that they are really, really smart. They're incredibly coachable, and they're wildly talented. And Moehrig checks all 3 of those boxes. I think he's the best safety in this draft, and I think he's a top 3 defensive back when you include corners in that conversation as well. I really do think it's Surtain, it's Horn, it's Moehrig. He is right up there with those 2 dudes. I've seen him mocked as high as like 16 or 17. I know that Falcons have the 4th overall pick, and I think 35 in the 2nd round, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping he fall day 2 and we can pick him up day 2.
That's going to be tough.
It is going to be tough.
But, you know, if he's not there, though, there's another TCU safety that you could take as well in our Darius Washington.
Yeah, but I think he may be there. It's just I think everybody think the first round is just going to be all these explosive players. I really think a lot of teams are going to, I think it's going to be between 7 or 11 offensive linemen that's going to be drafted. That's a third. That's a third of the first round right there. Like, you got so many offensive linemen, and, you know, me and talking about Coach Tyrone, we've been talking about, like, if the team can't get a quarterback, okay, the next best thing you can do is protect the quarterback that you already have on your team.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Cowboys have a huge struggle at 10, figuring out which direction they're going to want to go with that. Do they want to take a corner, or do they want to stack up with the offensive line a little bit? You know, I think another thing with Trey too is, you know, when you come out of the Big 12 as a safety and you're rated like a 1st-round draft pick, you've been through the fire already because of you. I mean, you faced Oklahoma, you faced Oklahoma State, you faced Texas, Iowa State, West Virginia, all these really high-powered offenses. And Moehrig absolutely was up to the challenge no matter who he was going up against. And so, you know, you're talking about a guy with 1st-round talent who's got a proven track record, starting for 3 years on an incredibly difficult defense to learn, started as a true freshman. You know, he's really, truly, I think, as close to a can't-miss prospect as you can get.
Okay. All right. So the scheme, he can fit cover 1 to cover 3. And like I said, we ran cover 3 here in Atlanta. Dean Pease, who's our new defensive coordinator under Arthur Smith, he does a lot of multi-fronts, and he does a lot of disguise. So I already know he'll fit well here in Atlanta. I know a lot of people comped him as Kenny Vaccaro or Keanu Neal. I'm more on the lines of Keanu Neal. Just how he can just come up and just go downfield and make the tackles against the run, and that was Neal was our thumper. He was our forcer for our defense. And I know if you can plug him in on any defense, he's going to be there for that forcer.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's so smart. He's one of the smartest players I've ever talked to, and he's going to be able to come into any system, learn it really quickly, and understand what his role is, and then he's going to go out and he's going to execute for you. He's not there's a certain kind of guy who Gary Patterson trusts to send out to the media after a win or after a loss, and that's a small group of people. And for the last 3 years, it's been Trey Moehrig. No matter what, we can guarantee that after a TCU football game, he's going to be one of the guys that goes out and talks to the media. He's going to be one of those guys who you don't have to worry about off the field. He was incredible in the classroom. He's like an all academic Big 12 guy too. The guy is like, I know I'm gushing about him, and I know that I'm biased because I went to TCU and I cover the Frogs, but seriously, he is one of the best guys I've gotten to know in my 9 years of covering TCU football. Just as a genuine human being, he's incredible. He works his tail off. He's going to be relentless on the football field, and he's just insanely talented.
If you could pick, what team would you like to see him at?
I think
the Cowboys.
All right. So, I mean, I've been on like the Pro Football Focus mock draft thing for like the last 6 months, just trading back to like 18 and drafting Trey Moehrig with the Cowboys. But, I think he would fit incredibly well in LA, in San Diego. I think he'd be great on, as much as it pains me to say, I think the Washington football team could really use a dude like him.
Oh, man, they have a complete defense. They draft him.
Right. I mean, they're stacked on the line. They've got some good linebackers. You put him in there, that might be the missing piece to having the best defense in the league, honestly, which I hate that. I hate that. I don't want Washington to be good. And honestly, I think Atlanta, he would thrive. You guys are going through some turnover. Need some fresh faces in there, looking for some good player capital for the future. I think he would be a great fit in Atlanta as well.
All right, so I want to ask this question. That fourth pick that we have, do you think we should pick at 4, or we should trade back and pick somebody else?
I mean,
and if we stay at 4, who should we trade? Who should we pick?
How much longer is Matt Ryan going to be there?
Every guess we have on him, man. That's
the first question is, how long is Matt going to want to stay? Matt has to stay.
I
mean, he's what, 35?
Yeah. But you got to think about it. How many other quarterbacks that technology and science, medicine and science has advanced?
It's true.
Some of these quarterbacks now are going to be playing well in their 40s now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brady's the perfect example of that for sure. Even Manning played with one leg and one arm until he was like 38 or 39. You want Penei Sewell at 4. You were talking about offensive linemen, and you got a quarterback who you trust, who's veteran. You want to protect him, maybe prolong his career a little bit more. That'd be a great pick out of Oregon right there at 4. He's probably going to be there too, because 2 quarterbacks are going 1 and 2.
3.
Oh, really? 3
or 3? Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
San Francisco got that 3rd pick for Miami, so I already know they're going to try to get them a quarterback. So
I mean, then I would say put it 4 and guarantee yourself the offensive tackle of the future, and then maybe you do some work to trade up into the 20s, and you have a shot at Moehrig as well.
Yeah,
get back into the first round and just.
I like that trade. I like the trading up. I just don't, because we have 6 picks. We have 7 picks this year, or
we got 9. 9. You got 9.
So,
throw some 4th rounders at people.
That's what I'm saying. Throw some picks, and if we can get back up to the first round, at least in the 20s, because a lot of playoff teams, I think a lot of playoff teams are going to want to run it back. Maybe just this year kind of sort of was different based off the fact of COVID. Like, you didn't have a lot of players play, so to run it back, a lot of teams go with their full healthy roster in that 20, that playoff range. They'll get the full healthy roster. So if we can trade back up and get a safety or corner, like Trevor or Caleb Farley, if we want a corner, they put next to AJ Terrell, you can do that. That's the only way I think. Or we trade down and get him.
I hear teams, a lot of teams, they not just acquiring by quarterback. You got teams like the Giants and Baltimore, they want Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts is not making it past Miami. I just really don't think he is.
No,
so
absolutely not.
You can trade with a team. Huh?
Miami picking what? 7?
6. They picking 6.
Okay,
it's Cincinnati's 5th, and then Miami 6.
Yeah,
Cincinnati's gonna get Jamar Chase. I think that if we don't take Penny, they'll take Penny. But if anything, Jamar Chase is gonna go there because of Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to bring that combination back together, which I'm fine
Why
with.
Wouldn't you? Why wouldn't
yeah,
you?
But the thing is, for me, is that it's a meme. It's I don't know if you guys watch Family Guy, but you know when Peter Griffin was grabbing his leg when he fell. That's what I said. Joe Burrow is doing at that point because you don't have an old line to protect him at that point.
Exactly.
If anything, you either take Slade. If we take Penny, you take Slater. But you got Jamar Chase there. That's hopefully Joe Burrow gets the ball out faster.
If we pick Sewell, since I can see Cincinnati trading back and and getting a guy like Slater or AVT.
It's true. And Cincinnati's they've had offensive line issues for the last decade. I mean, one of my favorite TCU players of all time is Andy Dalton, and he just got killed over and over and over again because they could never block for him. And once AJ Green got hurt, he had nobody to throw to.
I tell you that they may have an online problem for 20 years. Like Carson, that was Carson Palmer. They ran him off.
It's true.
So, all right. So, explain to me, going back to Trey. So, explain to me about the recruiting process with him coming out of Smith Valley High School in Texas.
Yeah. So
he came into TCU.
He was a pretty highly recruited kid. I'm pulling up his profile here. He had almost 20 offers coming out of high school. He was, obviously pretty well recruited in Texas. He had all the big Texas offers. A&M offered, TCU, obviously. Georgia wanted him. Oklahoma State wanted him. Mizzou, Michigan, Baylor, Colorado, Stanford, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Virginia, you kind of go down the list and you recognize all of those names. But I think one thing that gave TCU an advantage ultimately was defensive reputation. Gary Patterson has been the head coach at TCU for 21 years now, and everybody knows that he's really a defensive-minded guy. He puts good defenders in the league pretty consistently, going all the way back to Jerry Hughes, right? And so there's a track record there. Moehrig, I think, loved the fact that TCU is a smaller school. It's only got about 11,000 undergrad students. So it's pretty small, great classroom management, wonderful support for students here. And frankly, all of the other schools on that list have had coaching turnovers since Trey stepped on campus at TCU, pretty much. And so the consistency of the coaching staff, the campus life, and everything that came along with being in Fort Worth too, closer to home than a lot of those other schools. I think that's ultimately what got him there. And then he stepped on campus and just was immediately the dude, which does not happen if you're a freshman safety in Patterson's system. So obviously, I think he made the right choice for himself. TCU thinks he made the right choice too, because he was incredible for us. He's one of our best defenders in the last 20, 30 years.
He made a good choice. He could have went to Michigan, but TCU, I ain't never been to that campus, but I met someone when I was in college. We was doing transient work in Atlanta because I went to school in Missouri. And, like, you go to TCU, she said TCU, I'm like, I might need to transfer.
You might need to. Look, here's the thing too, right? Like, nowadays with social media and with everything else going on, like Huddle, all this other kind of stuff, you don't have to go to Michigan or Texas or Penn State or Georgia to get noticed by the NFL. You can put your film out there, and if you take care of business, pretty much wherever you play, you're going to get picked up if you're good enough. And I think things like that help schools like TCU now, who probably wouldn't win many recruiting battles 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now, TCU's just as visible as any other school. We've got, with Moehrig, it's going to be 3 years in a row that we've had at least one first-round draft pick.
It's just like what I'm glad you said that, because now you're seeing, look at BYU as another school. You know, getting a lot of players out of Kyle Vanerish and
North Dakota State,
Dakota, Trey Lance. Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was going to just say that too. Like Huddle has done wonders for a lot of people back when I played. No recruiters were coming down to the hood to look at me play. Like you had to go to one of those power schools like Buford or North Atlanta or Grady to get recognition. So,
yeah, social media has helped athletes out so much, and in turn that helps.
That's the
school.
thing for high school, which is different.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's just different nowadays, especially for me when I was going through my recruiting process. I ended up going playing. You kind of sort of just you put your film out there, you'll get called. It's very weird. It's a very weird kind of sort of thing because you'll sit and then you'll be like, your junior year comes because they can't talk to you your freshman and sophomore year unless they were talking to you in 8th grade, and they can't contact you for real. They can only see you letters of intent. Yeah, but you're on their radar. But once you get to your junior year, because a D3 school was on my sophomore year, then my junior year, they called me and was like, we want you to play online. So it's different. It's a different process now. You don't have to be a guy like you said. You don't have to go play at Buford or go play at any of these big schools in Atlanta because now you can just put your film on. People are gonna find you. Look at what's the one, Josh Jacobs. I don't know if you know his story. He wasn't a D1 recruit coming out his junior year, and his film got put out, and then Nick Saban took a chance on him. So it's really Huddle has evolved and helped a lot of people out, and yeah, that's just an opportunity.
That's all some people need. That's all some kids need is just to be seen and to get that one chance, and then that can be a life changer, which is really awesome.
So
Trae Young, he only took him 3.5 quarters to score his
to make one shot, and it was an and one, and he made it. Gosh,
wow.
All right. So Moehrig, he saw the field sometime as a true freshman at TCU, but he was primarily used as a special teams player. But he was voted the most valuable player on special teams by his fellow teammates. I know that's a rhetorical question. I'm asking a rhetorical question, but that right there pretty much gave him the recognition to be that starter for his sophomore year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go out there and you show that you're willing to do whatever it takes to contribute, you're going to get rewarded by the coaching staff at TCU. A lot of times you'll see these young defensive backs get their licks in on special teams. And if you show out and you go 100% and you show that it's not something that you don't want to be doing, even if it's not something you want to be doing, you're going to get rewarded for that. The TCU coaching staff is really values hard work, and they are loyal to their players. So if you give 110% to them, you're going to be rewarded down the road with playing time. And that's exactly what happened with Trey Moehrig.
All right. Also, he played 12 games in 2019. He stood out one of the most impactful defenders. That year, he got 62 total tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, but his influence was most heavily felt in coverage. In coverage, he showed incredible ball skills, knocked 4 interceptions and 11 passes deflected. He also forced 2 fumbles, and also perpetuating a penchant for creating momentum-changing plays. Now, when I watched some of his film in 2019, I noticed that there were a lot of quarterbacks that did not target him at all, which is good. I tell people this all the time because they be looking like they look at a corner, because I played DB, all right, and they look at he ain't getting that many picks. He not getting. I'm like, okay, but you got to also look at film of him. Is he getting targeted? If you don't hear if he doesn't have the stats, sometimes the stats doesn't mirror what he actually doing in the game. So I saw that. I'm like, wow, he's not even getting targeted. And if he does get targeted, either the ball gets knocked down, the receiver doesn't make a catch, or he's picking it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In 2019, quarterbacks had the choice to throw at Trey Moehrig, at Ardarius Washington, who is another guy who's going to go in the first couple rounds of this draft as a safety, Jeff Gladney, who was the Vikings' first-round pick last year, who was playing at corner, or Trey Tomlinson, who is LT's cousin, first of all, or nephew, first of all, and this year was rated by Pro Football Focus the #1 cornerback in college football. So the choices were really limited for quarterbacks throwing at anybody in the secondary for TCU the last 2 years, and they chose to go after that safety. You'll see time and time again that quarterbacks were choosing to throw to tight ends who were on delayed routes, guys who were on crossing routes over the middle who were matched up on linebackers, because you look across those 5 defensive backs in TCU secondary and you see no good options to throw to. And so Trey benefited from the quality of the guys around him, but also people knew that he was a threat every single time to at least knock a pass away or to pick the ball off. I mean, he led college football for the last 2 years in passes deflected, and that says a lot about his game, especially when you consider that people weren't targeting him a ton.
Oh, okay. All right.
Watching his film, I got a question for you. Watching his film, like you said, there wasn't a lot of targets, and he looks really fast. So I know you've watched him like in person. So like his on-field speed, how does it look?
It's fast. It's fast. Patterson. So what was it? 2010, about 11 years ago now, after TCU beat Texas Tech 12-3. If you go look up Great White Hit on YouTube, you'll see Marvin White decapitate a Texas Tech player, basically just absolutely level him. Clean hit, pops his helmet off. But after that game, Patterson came into the press room and everybody asked him, how did you beat Texas Tech? This is a team that's scoring 75 points a game, basically. How did you shut down Texas Tech, hold them to a game with no touchdown for the first time in like 10 years of their team? And he said 2 words: speed, baby. Because that's the thing that Gary Patterson values more than anything else. If you are fast, he can coach you up. And so he values fast guys who he can coach up. Like I said, that 4.5 unofficial from Trey's pro day a couple weeks ago, that's slow, and that's because of some back tightness that he was suffering from. Ultimately, I think realistically for him, he's a high 4.3, low 4.4 40-yard dash guy. He has the top end speed that you need to have to be a safety in the NFL.
So let me ask you this. Do we think the back tightness would be an issue in the NFL?
No, I don't think so. He was out there, and even with that back tightness, every scout, he's kind of a known commodity. Every scout that was there gave him the opportunity to say, I'm not running the 40 today. He ran the 40. That's just the kind of guy that he is. I'm here. You showed up to see me. I'm going to perform. So
I don't like pro days. It's just I like to watch film. I want to see what you can do in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Anybody can come out there in some shorts and a wife beater and run some doggone drills.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got no pads on. You ain't got no helmet on. You ain't got nobody that you're going up against. Like, I understand that it looks good to see what you can do. It's a diagnostics, but I want to see what you can do in game.
Absolutely. And, his film speaks for itself. It really does. You see a guy who he can stay with the #1 receiver. He can play up tight against tight ends. He can support in the run. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's got incredibly fluid movement and the top end speed in full pads and a helmet and cleats that you need to have. And he's just, frankly, he's just a highlight reel. Time and time again, this guy is making plays every time he's challenged.
All right. And then last year in 10 games, he added 2 more interceptions and 9 more pass deflections to his resume. He also added 47 tackles and 2 tackles for a loss. His production put him in the running for the Jim Thorpe Award and also placed him on the All Big 12 first team defensive list for a second consecutive year.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to show out for 1 year. It's another to come back and repeat that performance, especially in a year where there was a pandemic. They had so many changes to the way that they could train and practice and even play. And for him to come out in the midst of all of that adversity and do the things that you're accustomed to seeing him doing, to me, that's just so impressive. And I think NFL teams will see that the same way too.
Right. So we already talked about him being drafted. So I could see him being drafted high first round, low second round. I can tell you this: if he doesn't make it out of the first round, he's not making it past Atlanta. Atlanta will snatch him up in the early second round because, like I said, we do need safeties. We have safeties that we just signed. However, they only here on a 1-year deal. We're not going to be able to afford them after next year. So you need someone. You need players that's going to be here for a few years that who can play at a good level for our defense.
Mm-hmm. For sure. This is the perfect time for Atlanta to get a young safety who's going to be under contract with a rookie deal for the next 3 or 4 years. You're paying Matt Ryan a bunch of money. You're paying Julio a bunch of money. Get a young tackle in here and Penne. Get a young safety in here and Trey. And you're setting yourself up for a really successful next 4 or 5 years.
I appreciate you. Going off script right here, I got some questions for my co-host. And this off topic. So we talked about cutting Ito Smith. All right. They cut Ito Smith today. And I saw one person upset about Ito getting cut. What's y'all thoughts on that? Go ahead, King.
He shouldn't have been cut. He shouldn't have been cut.
Why?
In my opinion, because we in my opinion, we don't have enough running backs, and we're gonna draft one. So Ito Smith was that kind of guy that he was small and elusive. So now we just have 2 guys, one guy and Mike Davis, and then we go, of course, draft the guy. 3 guys. Who we got?
Quadre.
You got Mike Davis, you got Quadre, and you got the return specialist who's going to be a running back. These are all. But you got to think about it. Like
Cordell?
Yeah. He plays running back now. So.
Okay, so we got 3 guys all built the same.
That's because of the scheme. The scheme that Arthur Smith runs is a physical offense. Like Ito's not going to hold up in that type of scheme. He's too small.
See, I don't like that he's too small narrative because you still need somebody that's going to change the pace. You got all 3 guys that's kind of the same kind of player. You still need somebody that's going to change the pace. Not saying the bigger guys can't run screens. They can't do run routes out the backfield, but who do you have to do that? Mike Davis is not running routes out the back. Cordell Patterson. Okay.
You got Cordell.
So now you're getting one-dimensional. If I know you got Cordell Patterson in the game, I kind of know if he's going out the backfield, it's going to be a route, a screen, or something.
But
so you don't want to be that player.
Let's say this year, though. Look at the first year Arthur Smith was in Tennessee. When they had Derrick Henry and they had what was that? I can't think of their backup's name. But we watched those 2, and we knew when that second guy came in that there was a pass play, right? This year, Derrick Henry started running routes out the backfield, and it made that offense look even crazier because you didn't know what they were running. If this year is going to have to look like that for us to have Mike Davis, Mike Davis can run out the backfield. He can run play. I mean, he did it with Carolina.
Look at what he did when what's his face was hurt in Carolina this year. As someone who was a fantasy football owner of Mike Davis last year, I was very pleased with him carrying my team on his back more than just 1 week. But I also hear what you're saying, King, because the Cowboys have had something similar going on for the last decade when it was Marion Barber and Felix Jones. You knew what was happening depending on which guy was in the game. And now with Zeke and Tony Pollard, you know what's happening depending on which guy is in the game. So looking for that versatile running back who can really be a 3-down back, that's so rare these days, other than, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, maybe you throw Austin Eckler in that mix a little bit as well now. It's just tough to let go of a guy who can contribute because you maybe have a little bit of a logjam. It's really tough.
And you can always get a player like Ito. I'm just saying, you can always get a player like Ito, like in the draft, or sign an undrafted free agent. You know, there's going to be a lot of running backs that's not going to get signed that you can like plug in if you want that versatile type of running back.
Yeah, that's true. And what about, and we go back to Quadre, what are we getting from him? We don't know what we getting from this guy.
That's why I feel like we need to keep him.
Thank you. Here's the thing. Arthur Smith came in and watched tape. He watched tape on these players.
Tape and cut him.
Quadre is built. He's not, I ain't saying he's Derrick Henry, but he's like a Derrick Henry-ish type of like back. If you look at his film for Pitt, he's not going to beat, I'm not saying he's going to beat Derrick Henry because he's not. But he's that physical type of running back that he needs in his system. Mike Davis is only going to be here for a year. He already got a lot of. He don't have that much tread left on his on his tires. Quadre is fresh. Quadre ain't played.
Yeah, you said we watched.
Quadre really played last year.
Understood. I don't have nothing wrong with Pitt, but we watching film from college. We in the NFL. He's been in the NFL 2 years, and he hasn't done nothing.
But look at his fault. That's not his fault.
That's not the offensive coordinators he's had.
That's not his fault.
I'm not saying it's his fault. I understand with the offensive coordinator situation, he might not have been getting the burn, but we did have Limpy over here for a whole year, and Quadre Ellison still ain't getting no burn.
That's the thing. If we're gonna have the thing with Ito, look. So the thing I say about Ito is that we had people are mad now, but let's think about. You think about last year when we signed Gurley, nobody cared about Ito Smith or Quadre Ellison when we signed Gurley. Everybody was like, we got Gurley and we'll see what he can do. And his backup was supposed to be Ito and Quadre. Quadre barely played, so he's still fresh.
Exactly.
And Ito barely played, but the thing about Ito, like we said, Ito's small.
And he
Ito
did injure a
always
lot.
been a smaller black. So if we're going to keep Quadre, if we kept Quadre, it's because of film and what Arthur Smith liked when he saw in film. That's the only way.
That's it.
That's because Arthur Smith said he came in and evaluated the whole roster. And that's how they made their decisions. That's why we didn't keep Keanu.
And everybody, because we were talking about running back. I was talking to running backs, somebody on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying, well, we'll cut Olsen and keep Ito. I'm like, we might want to flip that. I'm like, we won't keep Olsen and we won't cut Ito. Ito has too many doggone injuries and he doesn't fit the scheme that he's trying to do. And so, I just Ito better. I'm like, okay, well, look, I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm telling you what's gonna end up happening. Lo and behold, what happened.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say no faith, but when you've been on a team for 2 years and you've only accumulated maybe 10 yards out of your whole tenure, I just see that as red flags, and I don't think that's just all on coaching, and that's how I feel about it.
The thing, Derek. So you saying him on a dirt cutter?
Let me put this into perspective. All right, remember the Chargers back in the day when they had LT, they had Michael Turner, and then they had what's the other Darren Sproles. They couldn't keep all of them. So what happened when they did a new coaching change when Noel Turner took over? Noel Turner, he got rid of Michael Turner.
He came to Atlanta.
It just,
I understand what you're saying with getting rid of one of them. Of course, you got to get rid of one of them. But if you got to get rid of one of them, why don't you get rid of the one that hasn't actually played? Because we don't know.
You go off scheme. You go off scheme.
I understand all that, but probably why I'm not a coach, makes probably perfect sense. I'm picking the guy that I know can play in the league before I pick the guy who I'm guessing on to play in the league.
If we watch, but I'm saying if you watch film, let's say you sit down and you watch film on Quadre and you watch Ito. The only thing we've watched Ito do is when he was behind. I mean, Ito's been behind Gurley and he's been behind Freeman. So he's not really gotten a lot of play time.
Let me hold on, Ty. Let me put this. All right, say for instance you're a quarterback, King, okay, and you have a running back in pass protect. Who you want blocking, Ito or Quadre?
Well, that's not his strength because that's not fair. But
he's going to be asked to do pass protect though.
Devontae Freeman wasn't the best blocker.
We know Devontae Freeman was the best blocker.
Scheme, you have to excel at running the ball and pass protect too. Derrick Henry's good at that.
but there's not many running backs that can pass, block, and run the ball in the NFL. There's
You're
like
right.
maybe 5.
You're right, and that's why Ito got cut.
Oh, so we should cut every last one of the running backs.
But let's think about look at Arthur Smith's scheme though. Arthur Smith's scheme is a play action boot, play action. It's not a lot of shotgun. It's a lot more out of under center. You're gonna roll out. You need your running back to be able to block. If we're doing a boot action and we're doing like a fake toss, and I see an edge defender getting free, I want my running back to be big enough to at least chip him. Even if he doesn't even get the full block, at least throw him off his path a little bit, because it's a lot of Lucy. I don't know if you guys know what that means. It's a lot of Lucy and Ricky. If you turn your body to the side, if we're going Lucy, that edge is coming off because I'm booting this way, but I still want my running back to clear him. That's a blindside hit. I want my running back to at least throw a body at him, and then he can be set. That's why if you see Matt roll out, that's why Hunter Henry is called Lucy, especially when he rolls out this way. You see Hunter Henry running down the field, and he's able to throw it because he had that backside blocked off. You can't have that backside not blocked off. You need a running back that's going to throw a hit and bump him off his lane. That's the only way that's the only way Arthur Smith's offense is really going to work, if we have a big running back.
So Jamie, let's talk about the Cowboys just for a hot second. All right. Zeke. All right. We know Zeke is this explosive runner. All right. But when it's time for him to pass protect, is he good?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's going to put his body in the way. I think we saw that this year more than in years past after Dak got hurt, because he knew that he had a quarterback in Andy Dalton that wasn't quite as mobile. He had an offensive line that had lost 4 starters from the beginning of the season to injury. And so he knew that it was Zach Martin and it was Zeke Elliott that were blocking for Andy Dalton this year. That was it. And he and Tony Pollard both just put their bodies in the way. And really, truly, when you're talking about a running back blocking, you just got to get your body in the way for a second or two, throw that guy off, and give Dalton the time that he needs to get rid of the ball, or give Matt Ryan the time he needs to get rid of the ball, whoever the quarterback is. When it comes to the third running back on the roster, you just need a guy who's going to be able to put his body in the way, whether that's Ito or Quandre or whoever. If they're willing to put, it's kind of like with Trey Merrigan's special teams his freshman year, right? If you're proving that you're willing to put your body on the line in less than ideal situations, that might earn you more time down the road. Do I think that Ito earned more time down the road that ultimately he didn't get? Yeah, I think so. But do I fault a new coaching staff for making decisions based on what they've seen on film, what they know about their scheme? I don't blame them for that either. Ultimately, the coaches made the call that they made. And the Falcons have to live with that now. If Ito Smith goes somewhere else and pops off, good for Ito Smith, bad for the Falcons. Yeah, it's thunderstorming here now. Can you hear that? Yeah.
You got to stay healthy though. Like you had like 3 concussions. Like that ain't good.
Yeah, and health has to be a factor too. That's the Cowboys are going to have some hard conversations with offensive linemen this year because of injuries. Zach Martin's been banged up the last few years. Tyrone Smith just cannot stay healthy anymore, which is so heartbreaking to see. We just lost Travis Frederick to retirement because he had a deadly disease that he overcame and now wants to live his life as best he can. Health from a player perspective and from a team perspective has to come into play too. It's just so tough. It's so complicated.
So
I will say one thing
about college. Let's talk about college. Ito Smith, 4,500 yards.
And Southern Mississippi.
Hang on now. We just got done talking about how smaller schools have more opportunity.
But Austin State can beat Southern Miss.
You can't do that. You can't take away from what he's done and then try to tell me, because he went to Pitt, that's even better.
How many teams? Hang on though. How many teams would have beaten Chattanooga when they had T.O.? Right? Like, I don't think it's totally fair to discredit a player just because of the school that he went to. I mean, that's what we were just talking about with Moehrig. Is like, if he goes to Texas or Michigan or USC or Florida, that dude has more hype than almost anybody else coming out of the draft. But since he went to TCU, he's maybe not as well known. But social media is starting to reverse that trend a little bit, right? So
I'm not saying because he played at Southern Miss. It's just like look at the talent they went up against. You see what I'm saying? Like the competition wasn't there. Like you playing, like come on now, like let's keep it real. Like Trevon Moehrig, he played in the Big 12. That that's you playing against high power offenses every single week.
That's true. Should we say the same thing about Trey Nance this year?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. But I think he only played one season
about Carson Wentz from when he came out. I mean, I think it really, truly, there are those players who it doesn't matter who they're playing against. T.O. at Chattanooga, Wentz, and this kid coming out of North Dakota State this year. Ito's, I think, proven himself as a quality backup in the NFL. Tony Pollard played at Memphis. That's not the best competition either in the ACC. I mean, they're beating up on SMU every year. Temple, right? So, but he's come in and he's been incredibly productive for the Cowboys. So as much as we like, Byron Jones came out of UConn, and that dude it breaks my heart that the Cowboys gave Jalen Smith all that money and they didn't have any left for Byron Jones, right? It depends on the guy. It depends on the coach. It depends on the scheme, health. It all comes into it. This is why I don't want to ever have to be like a GM or a president in the NFL. There's too much money on the line and too many hard decisions to make to get them all right.
I'll just be a scout. That's all I do. I'll be a scout. I don't be on here trying to be like I'm trying to be a general manager. I like the scout. I like to watch the game and actually dissect it as I'm watching it, and then go back and like see what I missed. That's what I like doing. Like I said, I played, I coached, I did everything. So, that just to me, that just stays true to my heart. But
the GM thing is just hard because you got to manage that money and that
you got to trust
who you want to cut.
You got to trust so many people under you to do their jobs. Either they gonna make you look like a star or they gonna make you look like trash.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and then sometimes you can't. The GM, you can't go into business for yourself and make decisions that could help you or can mess up your reputation.
Yeah.
So
at the same time, too, that's why they get fired when you get fired most of the time.
Exactly.
It's everybody's working for the same goal because they all know what's on the line.
Exactly. Well, hey man, go ahead.
Hold on, I gotta get my point across because I didn't get my point across about Ito. He almost doubled everything Quadre did. So if we want to say it was the school, if he would have went to Pitt, they would have had the same stats. So
let's not say that.
We gonna say the school. That's why he had good stats, but I can't flip it and say.
I'm saying if you flip it, but we don't know. Let's say you don't know because Ito is smaller than Quadre.
Man, let's not talk about school. We're gonna talk about school. Let's talk about a subject that's taught in school, and that subject is called science. Okay, let's talk about science now. A guy that's 5'9", soaking wet, 185, 190 pounds, go up against a linebacker that's 230, 240. Who's gonna win that battle?
So we talking about just blocking, or we talking about overall running backs?
Blocking. We talking about like running up the gap, running up the hole. Who's gonna win?
Chris Johnson, 2K. CJ, 2K. What else?
Okay.
What else?
Okay. But we talking about, but Ito's not CJ though. Let's keep that real.
Okay, Darren Sproles.
Okay, Ito's not Darren
Sproles in it, but you're throwing in these small.
Let's think about people. We talking about Ito.
Have you seen Sproles get hit before? You know how hard it is for a small person to get hit that hard. Quadre got concussed off of simple hits.
Man, Quadre got hit, but Quadre got concussed by Quadre got concussed by a cornerback. Not a linebacker, not a DN, not a defensive tackle, but a cornerback.
Yeah. That's
one of the smallest players on the defense.
Here's something to think about. I'm 6'3", 230. Do you think I could tackle Ito Smith?
Yeah. I know you can.
There's no way. He would absolutely level me.
Please.
Oh, man.
Well, y'all got me trying to go up out there, going on the field. I know I can make a tackle on Ito.
Yeah,
I'm ready for the FILA combine. I would love to see like one of y'all's live podcasts be 40-yard dash, shuttle, long jump, vertical.
I'm
all of
down.
that
I
stuff.
know.
Running routes.
40, I'm lose.
I'm the fastest guy.
You might beat me in the 40 because I ain't ran in a couple.
Bruh, look,
you
I'm
might beat me in
old.
the 40.
Look, I'm old. I done got in the car wreck. You know, I ain't running, but if something come to me, I'm putting it down. So
I'm the fastest guy in FILA.
Of course.
Okay.
We'll give you that. Are we doing the bench press? I mean, bench press
reps.
Yeah, do it all. Do the bench, right? You're gonna
bet.
And I probably can do the most bench press reps.
All those hand-eye drills that the receivers have to do. We're gonna do it all.
I'm definitely technique. If we doing O-line technique, I'm blowing everybody out the water.
Hey, LaTravis just said LaTravis just said Ito better juke me because I ain't trucking.
Give me a good bag drill, and I'm definitely gonna win in bag drills because that was my thing. I definitely win in bag drills because that was fun. That was the funnest part. I had a coach from the West Coast, so he was like a USC type of coach. So I don't know if you ever watched Pete Carroll. You know how the beginning of practice they run bags and you go through bag. That was literally every practice for us. I mean, every practice we set up, and that's what we did. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, man. But hey, we'll carry this conversation later on, you know, on social media or whatever. But hey, Jamie, appreciate you coming on, man. Talking about Trey and talking just football in general. One more time, let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at frogpreacher and frogsaward.com. Cover all things TCU.
All right, appreciate you coming on, man. Everybody watching live, appreciate y'all watching live. You watching at a later time, and shoot us your thoughts on Trey Moehrig in the comment section, so we can get back with you. Let's try to say I done got old. I ain't got nothing. He ain't got it in the combine, but hey, appreciate you, Travis, and everybody else watching live. Hey, if you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics, and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. It's your boy The Dunn with my co-host King and Tyrone.
The Hawks have made me mad tonight, so make sure y'all tune in to King's Round so I can go on a rant about Trey Young. I'm blaming him.
Okay, Jay.
I'm gonna leave your Atlanta friends with that. Just as a Dallas guy, Luke is better.
All right, y'all. All right, this has been Draft Prospects here on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. We'll see y'all later. Don't forget to tune in tonight for King's Round. So see y'all later. Y'all take it easy. Peace. We out.
Love yourself.